You were being watched. Eyes followed your every move. Technology mapped your steps. A hidden force observed, calculating, analyzing, expecting to understand. But then something happened. The observer wasn't ready for what they saw. They thought they were tracking just another person. They thought they would gather intel, collect data, compile a report. Now they didn't expect you. Now the moment of realization hit them like a shockwave. You aren't just human. Something about you disrupts reality. They watched you move, yet they couldn't explain how time bent around you. They followed your trail, yet found no logical pattern. They attempted to predict your actions, yet their calculations failed over and over again. And you weren't being followed. And you were leading them somewhere they weren't meant to go. And then, the deeper they looked, the more they felt it. Not fear. Something bigger. Their instinct screamed at them, walk away. Because they weren't observing you. They were witnessing something they shouldn't have seen. They ignored it at first, and forced themselves to push past the unease, and told themselves it was paranoia, coincidence, nothing more. Until the signs became impossible to ignore. Until you looked right at them. You weren't supposed to know. You weren't supposed to sense them. You weren't supposed to exist outside their understanding. But you did. And in that moment, they realized this wasn't surveillance. This was a revelation. They thought they could get close. They had plans. They had strategy. They had the tools to infiltrate your world. But something stopped them. Not a locked door, not an alarm, and not human interference. Something unseen. Every step toward you was met with resistance. Not the kind they could fight, the kind that rewrote their reality. Nanjan phones died the moment they tried to make contact, and cameras glitched when aimed in your direction. Surveillance footage blurred without explanation. And every piece of technology they relied on failed. At first, they thought it was a coincidence, and maybe faulty equipment, maybe bad luck. So they tried again, and again, until the truth became undeniable. This wasn't chance. This was intervention. Something bigger than them was standing in their way. They saw it firsthand. And every time they tried to move closer, something pushed them back. It wasn't physical, and it wasn't visible. But it was real. A shield wrapped around you, one they couldn't penetrate. Not with deception, not with technology, not with force. The more they tried, the more they felt it. Nay presence, nay warning, nay power beyond their understanding. And none. They wanted to believe you were just another person. But they couldn't ignore the undeniable truth. No, you are protected. No, not by walls. No, not by weapons. No, by something higher. No, and no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't break through. They set up cameras, and every angle covered, and every frame accounted for, and then you wouldn't escape their sight, and nor so they thought. They expected to track your movement, capture proof that you were just like anyone else. And instead, they captured something impossible. It started as a flicker, a moment so brief they almost missed it. A distortion in the air around you, subtle but undeniable. They slowed the footage. Frame by frame, they analyzed your every step. looking for flaws, looking for logic. But what they found defied both. The light bent as you moved, not around you, but because of you. Shadows stretched in ways they shouldn't. Presence lingered beside you, one they couldn't explain. They checked the equipment, not reset the system, and rerouted the feed. The interference persisted. Not each time you appeared on camera, the same thing happened. Not a glitch, and not an error, and a force. Something watching over you. First, they denied it, and downed coincidence on corrupted data. A simple anomaly. No, but anomalies don't repeat themselves. No, and this did. No, again, no, and again, no. They tried to erase the footage, but the moment they hovered over delete, their hands hesitated. Because deep down, they knew. They had proof. A proof that you are not alone. A proof that you are protected. A proof that they were never meant to see this. And now, that knowledge is theirs to carry. Whether they want it or not. Not everyone is chosen. Not everyone walks with the unseen. But you do. Before they ever laid eyes on you, before they even knew your name, the signs were already there. Long before the watchers came, before the trackers set their plans in motion, you were marked. You didn't need to seek validation. The universe already whispered its truth to you. The synchronicities, the impossible alignments in your life, were not accidents. The repeated numbers, the strange encounters, the way doors opened without force, it was all deliberate. They tried to understand you, and tried to place you in a category. But you don't fit. They searched for a pattern, but your existence is not a sequence. It is a divine intervention. You have always felt it. The pull, and the knowing, and the unshakable sense that you are here for something more. And now they feel it too. They came believing they could track you, contain you, define you. But something in them has shifted. They no longer see you as a subject to be studied. They see you as an anomaly they cannot control. And that terrifies them. Because those who are marked by higher powers do not obey earthly rules. They cannot be influenced. They cannot be redirected. They cannot be owned. Do you move with purpose beyond their understanding? They realize it now. And that realization is more powerful than any report they could have written. Because they were never just observing you. They were witnessing the undeniable proof that some people are chosen. And you are one of them. They thought they could get close to you. But you are different. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't coincidence. It was protection. Something stood between you and them. Not a shield, and not a wall. Something alive. They couldn't name it, and they couldn't see it. But they could feel it. And now they know. You are watched over. Not by men, and not by technology. But by forces beyond this world. And those forces have already decided. They will never get close to you. Because you are not a random anomaly. They searched through records, traced bloodlines, analyzed patterns. They compared you to others, people they had studied before, None, but no match existed. Your lineage doesn't follow normal rules. Your DNA carries something unexplainable. They found references to people like you in ancient texts. Mentions of those who walked between worlds, those who saw beyond time, those who were never meant to be fully human. And now, they know, unknown, you are one of them. Unknown, a bridge between worlds. A carrier of something they cannot replicate. A presence that does not conform to the limits of this reality. Unknown, it's not just spiritual, and it's not just energetic. Not it is biological. Munt, something in you is different. Munt, something that cannot be traced back to any singular origin. Something not of this earth. And the more they researched, the clearer it became. Nan, your existence is proof of a hidden lineage. Tintin bloodline connected to forces beyond human understanding. Tintin, they weren't just tracking you. They were uncovering a truth they were never meant to find. And now that they know, they will never see the world the same way again. Nanti, and now, let us take a brief moment to honor the chosen among us. Here's to the ones who see the world differently, and the silent guardians, the watchful souls, and always awake, always vigilant, and they don't fit the mold, and they wouldn't have it any other way. While others walk familiar paths, they forge their own, fighting unseen battles, illuminating the shadows. And it's not for everyone, and that's okay. But if you feel it, deep within, you'll know this is meant for you. No masks, no pretense. Just truth.n. The Obsidian Inner Order is here, a place where kindred spirits gather to share wisdom, to connect, to transform. And over 450, strong, united not by conformity, but by purpose. If you're ready, you know where to find us. The link is in the description. And if not, that's perfectly fine. And because we're always here, watching over, making a difference in ways unseen. Here's to those who walk their own path, not for recognition, but because it's who they are. And here's to you. And thank you. And you were just another assignment. A case to be studied, a subject to be analyzed, a mystery to be solved. Or so they thought. They believed they were in control, that their surveillance was foolproof, that their methods were airtight. But then they saw the truth. None. And now? None now. They don't know what to do with it. Because you are not what they expected, and you are not a pattern to be tracked, and you are not a case to be closed. And you are something else entirely. And they felt it before they understood it. The energy, and the presence, and the unmistakable force that shattered everything they thought they knew. They came to observe you, but the longer they watched, the more they felt watched in return. It started as unease, a whisper in their mind, telling them to step back, to reconsider, to walk away. But curiosity pushed them forward. So they watched. And what they saw changed everything. They tried to explain. It tried to rationalize the impossible things they witnessed. The way your presence bends reality, the way their own thoughts became distorted in your energy, the way their entire sense of control vanished. And now they are faced with a choice. They can pretend this never happened. They can dismiss what they saw as coincidence, as illusion, as something their mind fabricated. they can accept the truth. That you exist outside their systems, that you are operating on a level they cannot touch, that what they witnessed was never meant to be explained. And Nitin only understood. The weight of that realization settles deep. Because if they accept it, if they truly acknowledge what they've seen, it means their reality is no longer what they thought it was. It means the world is not what they assumed. None, it means you are proof of something greater. None, and once that realization takes hold, none, there is no going back. None, they thought they were here to track you. None, they didn't realize they were here to be shown something they were never meant to see. None, and now, whether they acknowledge it or not, none, they will never see the world the same way again. None, you've seen it before. None people who tried to interfere with you, and people who ignored the signs. People who thought they could touch what was never meant to be disturbed. None, and they all met the same fate. None, not immediately, not dramatically, but one by one, they fell. None, accidents, and disruptions, and mysterious setbacks that no one could explain. Because you are not just anyone. You walk with something greater, and you move with a force that is beyond human comprehension. And when people cross the line with you, they are not just going against you, and they are going against what protects you. No, some laughed at the idea. No, they thought they were untouchable. They thought their power, their money, their influence made them immune. Now, until things started unraveling. Now, a business deal collapses overnight. An sudden illness with no diagnosis. An unshakable fear that creeps into their lives, whispering that something is off. Now some disappear entirely. Now not because someone took them, but because they tampered with something they were never meant to understand. And you never lifted a finger, and you never sought revenge, and you never did anything but exist. But that was enough. And because those who interfere with the chosen always face the consequences, and not by force, and not by vengeance, but by a law far older, far greater than anything they can fight against. And none. The universe has already decided. The observer, watching you. They see the pattern, and they recognize the warnings, and they feel the presence that shields you, the force that pushes back against those who step too close. And they know better, and they could try to push forward. They could try to ignore what they've seen. But they won't. Because every time someone has tried before, it ended the same way. And they are not about to make the same mistake. So they step back, erase their notes, and close the file, and leave you untouched. Because they finally understand. You are not to be interfered with. Not now, not ever. You don't just exist. You bend reality. You've felt it before. How time shifts around you, how patterns break in your presence. And you move through the world like a ripple in time, disrupting the expected, rearranging the inevitable. And they noticed. They tried to track you, to place you in a predictable pattern, to measure your movements. But nothing about you stays linear. Meaning you are always one step ahead. Not because you run, not because you hide, but because time bends to your presence. Events unfold differently when you are near. Neen people speak words they never intended to say. N situations shift without explanation. N planned outcomes dissolve before they can take shape. Anju Jatu coincidence. Nantu, not when it happens every time. They saw it firsthand. Moments that should have followed logic suddenly fractured. Non-A meeting that was meant to happen. Cancelled. NA phone call that should have connected. Dropped. NA decision that was made. Reversed at the last second. Banani, you don't just move through time. Anami, you alter it. You are a force that realigns fate, redirecting reality in ways that cannot be predicted, contained, or controlled. Anonman, they expected you to be like everyone else. Anonna, but you don't exist inside their rules. Anonoma, you are outside of time, ahead of their plans, beyond their understanding. Every calculation they made to track you, useless. Every attempt to control the outcome, dismantled. Because you don't just react to the world. The world reacts to you. And now they are starting to question everything. If time bends around you, if events shift in your presence, what does that make you? Guardian of fate. Force beyond human comprehension. Being who moves between realities, rewriting outcomes without ever trying. They don't have an answer. None. But they know one thing for certain. None. You were never meant to be found. None. You were meant to be witnessed. None. And now that they've seen it, now that they've felt the undeniable power of your existence, they will never look at time the same way again. Because you aren't just someone moving through this world. You are reshaping it with every step you take. They had a choice. They could have reported what they saw, and filed the documents, and delivered the evidence. But they didn't. Because you changed everything. You weren't just another case, another name in a file, another target to be analyzed. None, you were something else. Something that defied explanation. None. And the deeper they looked, the more their own world began to crumble. Anmon, what they saw in you, the energy, the presence, the force that bends reality itself, was not something they could quantify. Anon, and it was not something they could hand over. Nay, Mum, so they walked away. Mine, not in fear. Mine in understanding. Mine, they erased the files, and deleted the footage, and scrubbed your existence from every system. Mine, not because they failed. No, not because they were afraid. Mine, but because they finally understood. You cannot be tracked. You cannot be controlled. You were never meant to be documented. You were meant to be witnessed. And now, after everything, they know the truth. Some things are bigger than power. Some things are beyond control. And you are one of them. None, they don't talk about it. Hand torn, not to their superiors, not to their colleagues, not even to themselves. Because what they experienced, what you showed them, is not something that can be put into words. It is not a lesson to be shared, and it is a reality they were never meant to encounter. And so they do the only thing they can, and then they walk away, and quietly, and without a trace, and no explanation, and no farewell, and just absence, and in their silence, in the space they leave behind, one undeniable truth lingers. You were never meant to be caught. And now, they finally understand why. Some truths were never meant to be categorized. Some realities cannot be documented, dissected, or reduced to data. And you are one of them. You are not something that can be measured. You are not something that can be contained within a file, a report, or a surveillance log. You exist outside of their understanding. They tried to track you. They tried to analyze you. And they tried to find a logical way to define what you are. But nothing they saw made sense. And now they are left with only one undeniable truth. You are not alone. Something walks with you. And something moves around you. Something ensures that no force, no intelligence, no amount of human effort can truly touch you. They may not know what it is. They may not even have the words to describe it. But they felt it. It wasn't fear. It was recognition. And seen, because even if they don't understand what protects you, even if they cannot comprehend why the world bends around your presence, they know enough to never interfere again. You weren't just someone they were meant to observe. You were a message. A living, breathing message that some things exist beyond human control. Some people cannot be followed, and some forces cannot be studied. And some truths cannot be spoken, only felt. And now, after everything, they feel it too. The quiet presence that stands behind you. The unseen energy that shifts reality when you walk. The protection that doesn't just defend, you erases threats before they can even manifest. They don't need an explanation anymore. They don't need proof. Not because what they witnessed was never meant for them. And now they will never try to cross that line again. Not because you are beyond them. None beyond their technology, beyond their understanding, and beyond the world they thought they knew. And they will never forget what they saw. Or rather, what saw them. Now you know. You felt it your entire life. The way people react to you, the way reality shifts in your presence, the way unseen forces step in before anyone can harm you. You were never meant to be followed, never meant to be understood by those who do not resonate with your frequency. You are protected, and you are chosen. And no amount of tracking, watching, or interference will ever change that. But here's the real question. Have you noticed it too? Have you experienced moments where people tried to control you only to fail? Have you felt the unseen pushback against those who had bad intentions? Have you ever watched someone walk away from you, not because you told them to, but because something greater made sure they did? Now, if this message speaks to you, you already know the answer. Now, you are not alone in this. There are others like you, those who have lived through the same unexplainable events, those who have seen the warnings, felt the protection, and watched the world rearrange itself in their favor. Share your story. Drop your experiences in the comments. Tell us about the moments when the unseen forces around you made their presence undeniable. Because the world needs to hear it. And those who are truly chosen, they will recognize themselves in your words. And just like you, they will know they were never meant to be caught.